Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon and good evening based on wherever you live. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be continuing our Salesforce interview question series, and this is part 12 video where I will be discussing more about environments and deployments. So let's get started. So the very first question we have here is, what are deployments in Salesforce? Okay. So deployments, Salesforce deployment is a process or activity that typically takes place at the end of the development, right? So I have completed my development and then I have to deploy it to a different environment, right? Or different org, we call it as, okay? So you learn the terminology in few slides, but yes, so we have to deploy from one org to another org. It is the act of moving changes from one Salesforce environment to another Salesforce environment or production environment. So basically, I have done some development, not just development, but I have done some config work, like creation of I would say custom objects, custom fields, or process builders, workflows, whatnot, right? And I have also written some triggers and Apex classes in my development environment, and then I want to move to a QA environment, right? Or maybe I want to move it to a production environment. So that is the process of moving the components, I would say, is nothing but the deployments. Okay, you learn all the terminologies in a few slides. The next question is, what is an org in a Salesforce? Okay, so what is an org? Basically, I've used org in my first question, but what is the org here? Okay, so an org is nothing but an identifier that represents a customer's version of Salesforce and its data within the Salesforce instance. Okay, a Salesforce instance can have multiple customer orgs. Basically, what Salesforce does is Salesforce might have a server, okay, and then and in that server we can have multiple orgs, right? One org maybe belongs to Netflix, okay? Another org maybe belongs to Amazon, right? And another org maybe belongs to maybe Google, right? So in an instance, Salesforce can have multiple different orgs created, right? And one org is isolated for that one company only, right? The changes or the development, what we have seen, what we have done in that org is just for that org. Let's suppose Netflix, right? So the changes what we have done for Netflix cannot be visible in an org used by Google or Amazon or whatnot, right? So that is nothing but an org. So each org can be highly customized, which include custom objects, custom fields, apps, tabs, workflows, process builders, data sharing, rules, visual force pages, Apex classes, and triggers, etc. Right? We can have anything developed in any org, right? So to get the instance and org details, go to setup company information. So if you want to see the instance details, go to this path setup and then company information, you will find there. Okay, so this is typically an instance. Okay, instance name is AB24, and in that instance AB24, org1, org2, org3, org4, org5, org6 will be there. Okay, so why I have used AP24, I'm not sure you guys have seen the link of the Salesforce. As soon as you log in into Salesforce, the link will have something called AP24, AP01, AP02, or maybe NA 01 or NA24, NA23, right? Actually, AP is nothing but Asia Pacific. So the servers is located in Asia Pacific, and NA is nothing but North America, right? I think we have EU or something like that as well, right? So it does gives the address of where these orgs are located. Okay. So as I said, one org can belongs to Netflix, another org can belongs to Google, right? Third org can belongs to maybe Amazon, right? Amazon is using. Another org belongs to Toyota. Another org belongs to maybe Coca-Cola, right? And last org belongs to some other company like Bank of America, right? So one instance can have multiple orgs, right? This is the basic thing. Just you don't have to worry about it, but just know this as an FYI. So as I said, go to setup and then company information. Here you will find salesforce.com organization ID. Okay, this will be a unique ID for each org. Okay, and the instance name is also given AP24. Okay, and this instance name is also found in your URL as well. If you have not customized your URL, then you will find this AP24 in the URL as well. Okay, so the importance of this organization ID is, let's suppose you created some Salesforce case, right? I am having this issue and something is not working in my org. So the very first thing they will ask is your org ID, right? If you provide this org ID, then only they will be able to log in into your orgs, okay, from their backend systems. Okay, so the next question is, what are the two broad categories of orgs? Okay, so we have production org. Okay, these are the terminologies. And we have development orgs or sandboxes. Okay, anything other than production, we call it as sandbox. It could be a developer org, a development org, it can be a QA org or whatnot, right? So here why I have given development org or sandbox is the one which you are currently maybe for training, when you practice your for practice, when you create an org, that is nothing but a development org. Okay, in reality or in real time, we don't use this development org. We use production orgs and we use sandboxes. Okay, we can name one sandbox as dev1 or dev2, but actual developer orgs is the one which you use for practice. Okay, what are the different types of sandboxes available in Salesforce? So we have developer sandbox, we have developer pro sandbox, we have partial copy sandbox, we have full copy sandbox. Okay, it might be a little bit new for you guys at this point, if you are just getting trained, or you have just completed your training, because you will not get exposure to all these things in your training. Okay, so you don't know what is developer org, developer pro org, partial copy org, full copy org, right? As and when you start working, you will understand what actually this is. Okay, but it is good to know and understand what these different sandboxes are, right? So I'll explain in detail about each of these orgs, but yeah, in Salesforce, we have these 4 different types of sandboxes. Explain the limitation of each sandbox. Okay, what is what? Okay, we'll see what each sandbox does, why we need those sandboxes. So basically here we have 4 different types of sandboxes which I have given, and here I have given what are the different I would say attributes of this. Okay, so for example, the very first sandbox, if you go to, it's a developer sandbox, we can refresh this every 1 day. So right now you might not be knowing what is refresh. I'll explain you what is refresh, but for now just understand that just remember that we can refresh every day this developer org, right? And developer orgs does have storage limit, so we cannot store more than 200 MB of data, and we cannot store more than 200 MB of file storage, right? Attachments like PDF, words, and all those things. And what is copied? So as soon as you refresh, what is copied? Metadata only is copied from where? From production. Okay, so basically you have to connect the dots, right? So maybe in the first go you might not understand, but repeat this video so that you can connect the dots. I'm explaining in the future videos also. So once you connect dot, you know what is refresh. And then where are we refreshing from? We refresh from production. Okay, and what is it copied? Metadata is copied from production to Salesforce. By the way, if you don't know what is metadata, metadata is nothing but anything other than data. Okay, like your custom objects, your custom fields, your page layouts, your record types, or your Apex classes, your triggers, everything is nothing but metadata. Except data, everything else is data, metadata. Okay, so when we refresh, all the metadata from production is copied to this developer sandbox. Okay, and sandbox templates. Do we have templates for this one? No. Okay, I'll explain you in a moment what is template, but developer sandbox does not have template. Okay, and next one is developer pro sandbox. Again, the refresh interval of developer pro sandbox is 1 day, but we will get increased data storage. We get approximately 1 GB of data and 1 GB of file storage as well. Okay, so here again, when we refresh, only metadata is copied in developer pro sandbox as well, and in sandbox template we don't have templates here as well. Okay, So next, go to the partial copy sandbox. So partial copy sandbox also have 5 days. Okay, partial copy is having increased number of days for refreshing. So we can refresh this only after 5 days of once refresh. For example, today I refresh this uh, sandbox, and then only after 5 days only I can hit that refresh button. Okay, and the storage is 5 GB, which is more than the developer pro. Okay, and the file storage is same as your production org. Whatever how much file storage is there for your production, the same will come in the partial copy sandbox. Okay, and then what is copied? Metadata is copied, obviously, like these two, but apart from metadata we can copy partial data. Okay, that is the reason its name is partial copy. Partial data or sample data means we cannot copy the complete production data into partial copy sandbox. We can just copy some data of production. Okay, that is the reason it is called as partial copy sandbox. So sandbox template. Okay, so templates are nothing but sandbox templates are nothing but, okay, let's suppose I create a template. Like whenever I refresh, I want to copy the data of accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunities. Okay, once I create that template and store it in Salesforce. Okay, next time I am refreshing, I'll say, okay, use this template. Automatically it will refresh with that metadata, plus it will get the sample data of account, contact, leads, and opportunities, whatever I have created for the template. Okay, that is the reason we have templates here. Since data cannot be copied for these two sandboxes, developer sandbox and developer pro, we don't have the option for template itself. Okay, the final one, the important one, is full copy sandbox, which can be refreshed only after 29 days. Okay, why 29 days? Means it takes a lot of resources, Salesforce resources, to refresh a full copy sandbox, because it's need to be an exact copy of production. Okay, that is the reason it will take time. I mean, it won't take 29 days, but we cannot refreshes every day. Okay, so depending on your data, it will take the whole day or maybe 2 to 3 days based on how much data you have, but we can refresh only once in 29 days. Okay, so the storage is exactly same as our production org, because we need to copy the production, right? Exact copy of production, so that it will automatically get the storage. Let's say your production is having 40 GB of storage, then automatically full sandbox will get 40 GB of storage. Okay, what it copies metadata and all the data. Okay, and templates are also available in this full copy sandbox. Okay, so let's go to the next question. What is Salesforce environments? Okay, so Salesforce environment is a Salesforce org which is used for a specific purpose. For example, for development, I can use it for development. I can use it for testing or QA, right? I can use the org for staging. I can use for training and for production environments. So this is a typical diagram. I'm not saying that always you will have something like this setup, but yeah, this is a typical diagram just for your understanding. So admin or developer will, there will be two streams. Let's suppose there is a project stream, means new projects will be developed, and there is another stream called BAU streams, means day-to-day bug fixes and enhancements might be done over here. Okay, so the developer team from the project, from the project, can create a developer sandbox. Okay, they can name it as dev. Okay, and then do their development, and then they can move their changes to QA sandbox. Okay, which can be a partial copy. I'm not saying it QA should always be partial copy. I've just given here to explain you, right? Better to take partial copy for QA. Okay, and then once it is done, then full copy sandbox, we are moving it to UAT. Okay, user acceptance testing. So user acceptance testing always, I mean, most of the time will have full copy sandbox, unless the client doesn't have budget to take the full copy sandbox. Most of the clients take full copy sandbox because it's a costly one. And then finally it goes to the production. So this could be a typical your organized org setup, for any Salesforce development, right? So how to create a Salesforce sandbox? Okay, so far I've discussed sandbox, orgs, this, that, but how to create one? Okay, so when a company purchases a Salesforce org, they will get production org, and production org will have the options to create sandboxes. Yeah, important note over here that this free development orgs which you are working right now, I mean, for your training, that doesn't have this feature. Okay, until unless you start working in a company, you will not get exposure to creation of sandboxes and all those things. Okay, so go to setup sandboxes. So if you go to setup in your developer org and search sandboxes, you will not find in the free developer orgs. You will find this sandbox options only in the production org, which is a paid one, right? And then click on new sandbox. So this page will be open and you have a button called new sandbox. So from here you can create the sandbox. Okay, so if you could see, we have developer sandbox, means I have 25 developer sandbox available, means I can create 25 developer sandboxes. Okay, I can create a developer pro. No, I don't have any. So we can purchase, okay, based on your production. Also, it depends how much you have paid, what you have negotiated, right, with Salesforce while purchasing. It depends on that as well. So with my default purchase, I didn't got any developer pro available. But if you want, you can always purchase it from Salesforce. As soon as you purchase, it will populate over here. It will say, okay, one available. Okay, partial copy. Okay, I have one partial copy. I can create any sandbox with partial copy, and full also I don't have. Okay, this is also a little bit expensive. So we can purchase this as well if you want. So once you click a new sandbox, you will get these options. You can give the name dev1 or whatever it is, and then some description. And from where you have to create it from production. I said, right, I want to refresh it from production, or I want to create it from production. Both are same thing, right? So what it does is it copies everything. I mean, depending on what we have selected. If we selected developer, then it will copy only configurations like metadata. If you selected full, it will copy configurations as well as data. So it copies everything from production and create that sandbox. Okay, so if I want to create a developer sandbox, then just click new over here, and then it will ask Apex class. I mean, assign any Apex class. What it does actually is, if you assign create a Apex class and write some code to run as soon as org is refreshed, like, creation of some users or disable some users or anything, any logic if you have written, then that will run immediately. But this is optional, so you can ignore this. Okay, and then click on create button. So as soon as you click create button, you will see one row coming in over here, right? So it gives the name as dev1 and then type is developer. If I create full sandbox, here type will be full copy. Okay, and the status is pending because it is in the queue right now. Okay, since Salesforce is in cloud, so it has initiated the creation, but it hasn't complete. Once it is completed, it will give complete or something like that over here. Org ID is also pending because org hasn't created, so Salesforce has not assigned the org ID also. So once it is completed, it will show you from where you have copied, whether you have copied from production or UAT or whatnot, right? So explain what will happen once we create a sandbox. So what will happen as soon as we create a sandbox, all the users from the production will be copied to the sandbox. Okay, all the users will be copied and all the user names will be suffixed with .sandbox name. Okay, for example, if my sandbox name is dev1, then my username will become like my name @company.com is my production username. So what will happen in sandbox, my whole name at company.com.dev1, so it will suffix with the name of my developer org. Okay, and all the emails will be suffixed with .invalid. Automatically what the refresh or the creation of sandbox does is it will suffix all the emails with .invalid, so that unnecessary emails are not sent to everyone like this one. Okay, email.com.invalid, and only the metadata from production is copied to dev sandbox. Okay, and all the metadata and partial data will be copied to partial copy sandbox, and all the metadata and full data will be copied to the full copy sandbox, depending on what we are selecting. Next question is how to log in into a sandbox or production org. So use test.salesforce.com URL to log in into any sandbox, and use login.salesforce.com URL to log in into production. Okay, so why I have included this question is, normally when you use your developer org for your training, you will log in using login.salesforce.com. Okay, but you don't know until and unless you start working that to log in into sandboxes, you should always use test.salesforce.com. So be careful here. What is sandbox refresh and how do we do refresh sandbox? So refreshing a sandbox updates its metadata from the source org. Most often the refresh is done from the production org. So basically, why do we really need the refreshes? Okay, let's suppose I have done, I have created a developer org. I have done so many developments, and I have another developer org which is used by BAU teams, and they have also done some development, right? And we have moved from our development org. I mean, like BAU project team moved their changes from developer org to the UAT to QA to UAT and to the production. But BAU team is also doing a separate changes, and then they were moving it to QA, UAT, and production. So what is happening is the developer org which project team is using is not in sync with what BAU teams are using. So what they do is frequently, first of all, they will have a solid CI/CD setup, okay, just to make sure that even developer sandboxes are up to date, right, whenever they are deploying. But if that is not the case, then what they does is they create, they refresh their developer sandboxes after every project. Okay, once the project has been deployed, then they refresh so that they get the changes whatever is developed and moved to production by BAU team or any other team. Okay, so that is the reason we normally refresh the orgs. If the sandbox is clone or if it uses a sandbox template, the refresh process updates the orgs data and metadata. Okay, so if it is a partial copy and full copy, then it copies the metadata as well as the data. Okay, so to go to setup sandboxes, list of sandboxes, refresh button next to the sandbox name. Okay, as soon as a sandbox is created, you will get a refresh button as well. So next is what are different tools used for Salesforce deployments. Okay, there are many tools. Okay, I can't list everything, but most commonly used tools is what I have listed here. So change set is the first one we use, okay, which is inbuilt in Salesforce. Okay, and ant migration tool is used. This is normally used by the developers. It is CLI based tool, and Salesforce packages, managed and unmanaged packages. Okay, Salesforce DX is also used by people. There are third-party release management tools as well. These are the paid ones. So AutoRabbit is one of them. I've used this. This is good. Copado and Click Deploy. This is also a really good tool. And GearSet. This is also a good tool. So these are the different third-party tools as well, just for your knowledge. Okay, if you are not aware of this one, just Google it and see their intro videos. At least you'll get to know what is what. At least you can say you have not worked is fine, but that these are the tools which we can use to deployments that will add add value to your resume. Okay, so apart from this, we can also deploy using any Salesforce IDE as well. Okay, we can use Visual Studio Code also to deploy. Developers normally use Visual Studio Code only to deploy, or they use Eclipse as well for deployments. They use Welkin Suite, which is a paid. Okay, if the developer is using these tools for development, they directly deploy one or two files or Apex classes they want to deploy from one org to another org. They will use this. Normally, they don't use these for production deployments, but just for the sandboxes to sandboxes, if it is one or two these things, classes or triggers and whatnot, they still use IDEs as well. And Eliminated Cloud, that is from IntelliJ IDEA, which is also a paid one. Okay, so these are the different tools we can use for deployments. Next one is what is an outbound chain set. I've said that we can use chain set. Okay, this is out of the box in Salesforce. Chain set is out of the box in Salesforce. So we have outbound chain sets as well as inbound chain sets. Okay, so let's go and see what is an outbound chain set. So an outbound chain set is a chain set created in Salesforce org in which you are logged in and that you want to send to another org. Let's suppose I am in a developer org, okay, and I have done some development. Let's suppose I have created an Apex class, I have created a trigger, I have created a custom object. Okay, what I will do in the source org, I mean in my developer org where I have done the development, I will go to the setup and search for the outbound messages, because I want to take these components which I have developed out of this org. Okay, out of this org to another org. Okay, so you typically use an outbound change set to for customizations created and tested in a sandbox, and that are then sent to the production org. I'm saying production org, but it could be a production or any other sandbox as well. Okay, like if you go to setup environments change sets, you will have two options: inbound change set and outbound change set. Okay, so see, if you see outbound change set, then you can create a new change set, and then you write what is it for. Okay, it's for sprint 1 changes version 1. Okay, this changer is used to deploy sprint 1 changes. So let's suppose for sprint 1 I have done some changes, right? So those changes I want to deploy to another org. So that's the reason I'm creating the outbound change set. So as soon as I create outbound change set, sprint 1 change 1, this screen will pop up. So here you can add the components. Okay, here you can add the profiles. So if I add the components, it will give me the list. Okay, whether you want to add page layouts, Apex classes, or whatnot, right? You can select the component type. If you select Apex classes, you will get the list of all Apex classes. Okay, select which Apex class you want to add into the change set, right? Add to the change set. Click on add to the change set. So once it is added, see, I have added 3 components: account layout, case layout, and contact layout. I added 3. Okay. Then what I can do is I can click on upload button. As soon as I click on upload button, what will happen is it uploads, it gives an option to which org I should upload. So here in this case, I have only two orgs connected, developer to direct production. So I will select, okay, upload. This is the target organization, right? So I'll say, okay, upload it to my production, and click on upload button. So it will take some time, and then it will upload your changes to the production org. Okay, your changes was uploaded successfully. Uploading change set doesn't mean that those changes are reflected in production. No, it won't reflect until and unless you go to production and you click on inbound change set and then deploy it. Okay, so this we are just uploading and it is just staying somewhere. Okay, but it has not been deployed to the production org. Okay, so let's see that. So what is an inbound change set? This is where we have to go in production. So an inbound change set is a change set that has been sent from another Salesforce org. Okay, there in the source org we have to create outbound change set. In the destination org we have to go and search for the inbound change set. As soon as we go to the inbound change set, we'll see that change set which we have sent from other org. Okay, so has been sent from another Salesforce org to the org you are logged into. Okay, a change set must be deployed for the change set to take effect. As I said, right, it will just be there, but it will not take effect. Okay, until and unless I click a deploy button. Okay, let's see that. So you can deploy the contents of an outbound change set as a whole, but not on a component by component basis. What does that mean? Okay, I have added one Apex class, one trigger, and one page layout. So in there, I cannot go and say, okay, just install me only Apex class. No, I have to install all the 3 which is there in my package. Okay. So go to setup, environments, change set, and inbound change set. So as soon as you go to inbound change set, you will see the one which we have uploaded from there. Okay, it will give us option from where I got this change set. So I got this change set from my developer sandbox, developer 1 sandbox, uploaded by whom, uploaded date, so and so. Okay, don't worry about these options right now, because this is all about how we test the classes and all those things. But just click on validate. Once validation is successful, you'll get the message. Then click on deploy. Now once you deploy this, then only these components will be deployed to the production org. Okay, here also click on next page, again default, and then deployment succeeded. Okay, with this you will be able to deploy using the change set. Okay, this is the basic thing you should know about this change set. This is not available in your developer orgs, by the way, so that is the reason. Even org refresh is not there, and inbound and outbound changes are not there, because that needs multiple orgs if you want this functionality. Okay, so as in the training, in the no training, you will be getting exposed to these things until unless you get a chance to work in a production or which is connected with multiple different sandboxes. Okay, okay, let's see the next question. Is it compulsory to do the configurations development in the sandbox and then deploy it to production? Can we do the changes directly in production? The answer to this is you should not do, even though you can do something in production directly, but you should never do this directly in production. Okay, so there are some limitations like Apex code and triggers cannot be directly modified in production. Okay, if you're working somewhere, just go and see, try to edit the Apex class or trigger in production. You will not be able to do it. Okay, so that is the reason you should first develop in sandbox and then deploy it to production. Okay, that is one reason. So while we can do any configuration changes in production, it will have cascading effect. Okay, even though you can do config changes like creation of fields, or deletion of fields, or maybe updating a workflow rule and all those things, but the best practice is not to do directly in production. Like if we are modifying a process builder and the user is using the same functionality which uses that process builder, right? So that he will see a different effect if you do the changes, right? So it is always recommended to do the configuration or development changes in the sandboxes, test, and then deploy to the production. What is code coverage in Salesforce? Okay, I might cover this in very detail in any of the development videos, but as an admin, you should know that there is something called as code coverage. Okay, so before, why you should know, because most of the time in production deployments are done by system administrators. Okay, most of the companies I have seen, they don't give production access to developers or any other team members. So system administrators or Salesforce administrators only have production access. So typically, or normally, they will the person who are deploying if they don't have a separate team for deployments wherein they have CI/CD setup and all those things, right? So before deploying the code into production, Salesforce ensures that our code has minimum 75% of code coverage, right? So writing a test method for each line of Apex code and triggers ensures that we have sufficient code coverage. Developers know this, but this is just an FYI for the administrators. What happens if the code coverage is less than 75%? Okay, so the deployment will fail if we have less than 75% of code coverage. Then what do you have to do as an administrator? Then you have to reach out to the developer. So very first thing is, before even the deployment date, you should verify what is the code coverage, right? So you should not wait until the deployment date. One day before, just check what is the code coverage, validate the package, right? Basically, validating the package will give you if it is having code coverage issue or not, right? If the validation is successful, so do the validation one day before, or at least a couple of hours before if it is a small deployments, right? So that is the best practice. So one day before you have started the validation and you see there are deployment failure because of code coverage, then you should reach out to the developer. Developer knows how to increase the code coverage. Okay, so that's it for today. These are the references. I always try to refer to Salesforce documentation. Okay, so that I can provide you up-to-date information. You can go and refer here and read more as well if you want to. And thank you so much again, and thanks for watching. I hope this video help you prepare for Salesforce interview and crack your next job. If you like this video, make sure to hit a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. That way you don't miss out Salesforce interview question and answers video like this one. Okay, just click on subscribe button below this video, and if you want to read more interview questions, just head to my blog. The link is in the description. You can read there as well. Thank you.